Welcome to another edition of 42 Straight Years In. On my crackhead update, I've said in I think my last few videos that security where I live, there are Dallas police officers. And I was talking to this one of the Dallas police officers yesterday, and he was telling me that they got a standing order not to harass the homeless people. But you can drive down through Dallas. When I'm going to Oak Cliff, sometime I'll cut through downtown. South Dallas is the fastest way to Oak Cliff, but sometime I'll go through downtown on the mall. Man, they walk all out in front of your car, slap your car, all type of stuff. All them cops standing there, not one says anything to them. I mean, they don't say one word to them. And the police sitting right there looking. There's police cars parked everywhere in the West End. They do not say nothing to the homeless people. Unless he just take a piss in public, or they see him really trying to roughhouse someone panhandling, they'll intervene. But they really don't say anything. Occasionally they'll run them off from the bus stop. From the train, they'll just be sitting there, and they'll notice a couple trains went by, and they have them boarded the train. They ask them where is their ticket, and they'll run them off. 30 minutes later, they right back again. But he said they have a standing order not to harass the homeless. That's my crackhead update. Y'all know what it is. Get your shanks out. Let's ride. In this segment, I'm going to be dealing with parole in Texas. Parole in Texas is a privilege. It's not a right under the United States Constitution or Texas Constitution. You don't have a right to a parole. It is simply a privilege. The first thing you do on your parole date, you'll receive a lay-in. The following day, you go see parole officer the next day. Each prison unit has unit parole officers. They do the actual interviewing. And they ask you a ton of questions, and they write down all your responses. One of the main things that they're going to ask you about is remorse. That's what they want to hear you talk about. Remorse and how you gonna survive on the outside. They tell you to give them 3 addresses. Just in the event that you make parole, they can start verifying no addresses and see if those people will accept you at their residence, or you parole to a halfway house wherever it's bed space available. They tell you to pick 3 halfway houses out in different cities. Whichever one has an opening, when your release come up, that's where you'll be housed at. Now, they judge you on your grooming, your attitude. Did you answer all the questions truthful or not? They grade you on that, and they write this down. So you go in there looking all disheveled, they're going to write that in their report. Now, sometimes it depends on if you got, majority of the time, a violent case. Occasionally, you will get to see an actual parole board member. Now, they are different from the parole officers. The board members are the ones who make the decision whether you go home or not. They are appointed by the governor of Texas. You will get to see a board member. If you see a board member, the key thing to seeing a board member is getting his vote. Now, it depends on what legislature you under. It depends on your parole criteria. It depends on what year you came to prison. Some guys got to serve 1/4. Some guys serving 1/3. And some guys serving half. It depends on the year of your conviction. If you see a board member, one of the key deciding factors from a board member is, do you continuously pose a threat to the public or society? They got to make that decision. They go by the severity of the offense, how much actual time is served, what programs you participate in, and making that decision. You can participate in all the programs, be a modeling inmate with a clean disciplinary, that still do not guarantee that you're going to make parole. They will come back and say that is not a reflection on your rehabilitation. Now, inmates got a thing. They actually believe that with a clean disciplinary record, that you'll make parole. That's because they've never studied criminal justice. Criminal justice teach that each inmate can at least expend one term in administrative segregation. They look at you as being institutionalized. You've been in prison 30 years and only had one minor disciplinary case. To you, you're a model inmate. But the way they are judging you is you was institutionalized. That's why you was able to beat all those rules. Because they got a ton of rules. They got a rule book full of rules. They got posted rules on all the bulletin boards. That's not even in the rule book. They make them up as they go along. Now, most inmates will say, well, like me, I had a messed up disciplinary. When I first came up for parole, I was 3 years past my parole date. I was supposed to came up in 9 years and 2 months on a life sentence, but I came up in 12 years. That's from all the disciplinary I had got and all the good time lost. So I was 3 years late seeing parole. Guys used to tell me a lot of times, that's why you didn't make parole, man, all that disciplinary you be getting. No, it was the severity of the offense. Also, if you make parole, they notify the crime victim and the trial officials. And if any one of those object to you being released, you're going to receive a paper in the mail, or the parole officer is going to call you out and personally hand it to you. It's going to say, parole denied, additional information received. In inmate lingo, that is known as a protest. The trial officials or one of the crime victims that said, hey, this guy have not served enough time and he posed a threat to the community. We want him to remain incarcerated. So you will not be making parole. That's what happened to me on 3 occasions. 3 occasions I received that in the mail. I had made parole, but Dallas County protested my release. I received 3 of those. They never made parole after that. It was a wrap. Also, they got, in the Code of Criminal Procedure, they got where the DA he enter in your commitment papers when you first arrive at prison. Do he object to parole, or he remain mute, or he recommend parole? Also in your commitment papers is a victim impact statement. That is from the crime victim. Parole officer's going to read that and see what it says. So parole is not easy to make. And you do not have a right to parole. If you make parole, they got different categories. They call it FI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each one of those designators mean reflect on your parole status. If you're a sex offender, you must complete an 18-month program before you can be released. If there's anything in your record about drug use, or you convicted of a drug offense, you must complete 6 months at a drug unit. You must graduate from that program before you can be released. And it's basically all inmates has to go through a class which is mandatory in Texas for parolees. Is called changes. You must graduate from changes. It's a 90-day course. If the prison go on lockdown, you shit out of luck. Those days don't even count. The days count are the one you actually attend that class. And upon graduation, about 10 days after you receive your release date, or they'll just come tell you on the chain, you being released. Now, also, after you release, every Texas inmate is required to pay parole fees. And again, that reflects on what year you came to prison. They made that law retroactive. If you came to prison in the 70s and you're a 62nd or 63rd legislative inmate, you will pay $10 a month. It gradually go up. Some guys pay $20. Your college, it depends on what legislative act you're under, what year you came to prison. You must pay for that when you release. That is attached to your parole fees. If you have restitution, that is attached to your parole fees. Failure to pay, they won't necessarily send you back to prison, but a parole officer can make it extremely rough on you on the outside. I have seen him where they take a guy, he's reporting every 3 months, they make him report every day. Every day he got to go see parole, or he get a blue warrant, which a blue warrant in Texas mean the parole board done issued a warrant for your arrest. He must go see parole every day. Also, sometimes they get pissed at guys who work eligible, who don't have a disability. They tell him he must look for 10 jobs every day. They want it verified. They want the contact information and that person's phone number. Occasionally they'll call those people and ask them, hey, have this guy been in for a job interview? Or if you're on a monitor, you must go in on a Monday and make out a schedule for the whole week. You must tell them the exact time you go into Walmart. I mean, to the penny. You can't, if you tell them you was going to Walmart, you cannot stop at 7-Eleven and get gas. That's a violation. That was not in your plan. So, parole can be just a friendly reminder of what prison is like. You can make it hard or you can make it tough, either way you want it. Most parole officers really don't give you a hard time. All you got to do is follow the program. If you're required to take a drug class or anger management class, you take your class, you ain't got no problem out of them. But a lot of guys feel like once they release, you can't tell them what to do. So it'd be a lot of guys get violation. But now, majority of the time in Texas, they got what they call a technical violation. That means you might have been late reporting, or you failed to report, or you behind on fees, or you went somewhere where they told you not to go, and majority of the time they don't send you back to prison. They got what they call intermediate sanction facilities, ISF. They'll send you there for 60 days. Now, if you totally piss a parole officer off at your parole revocation hearing, he can bring up all the bad things you have did to try to get you returned back to an actual prison unit instead of ISF. They'll just accumulate all the stuff you did. While he was late reporting 3 times, he failed to report on this date, he failed a drug test over here, we sent him to ISF, nothing works, so they will return you back to prison. Once you get back to prison, you'll become eligible again on that sentence. And you're going to play hell getting out. Especially guys who got large sentences. You got a 99-year sentence or life or 50, 75, and then agreeing that you parole, majority of the time off the muscle, they'll give you a 5-year set-off before we even talk to you again. 5 years. Just for being stupid while you was out on parole. Like most guys have a problem finding a residence. So a lot of guys on parole are homeless. They'll have someone say, hey, let me parole to your house. Just tell parole I'm coming to your house. And they'll tell parole officer, yeah, he's welcome to stay at my house. But you done made a side deal with this person where you say, hey, just tell them that I'm not going to stay at your house. Or this person tell you, hey, you can't stay here. But you say, hey, well, man, at least just tell the parole officer that I'm going to stay here. And a lot of I see a lot of them, man, they are homeless. If you're a sex offender, you sure enough got problems. So you're restricted on where you can live. You can't live close to a park. Can't live close to a school or church. They got a lot of restrictions on you. You know, I looked at prison as being in suspended animation. Because your life basically stops once you enter the prison system. Everybody's on the outside go forward. Well, some of the ones on the outside go forward. Some of those guys go backwards on the outside. They are out. They're free as a jaybird. They doing about the same as a guy in the prison. It's sad to say, it's some guys in the prison doing better than some of the ones out here. You laying sleeping on the street, filthy, nasty, hungry. The guy in there, he's sleeping in a clean bed. He get 3 meals a day, unless he had a state jail. But all the prison units feed 3 meals a day. It might not be top quality food, but you won't go hungry. You know, most people on the outside don't eat 3 meals a day. You just can eat when you want to eat. Like me, I'm cooking right now. And I've ate breakfast, but I'm not going to eat lunch. I got plenty of food here, but I'm not going to eat lunch. I don't eat 3 meals a day, but I got a refrigerator full of food. It's something about being locked up. It's just psychological. It seems like you be hungry all the time. You get used to the regimented lifestyle of an institution, and the monotony of prison. They basically feed child at the same time every day. Your system get used to that, unless they have an incident or the count is screwed up. But you basically gonna do everything basically within 45 minutes time frame each day. They rotate the feeding schedule. This cell block might go first today and last tomorrow. They switch it up, try to keep guys thrown off where you can't actually meet your homeboy in case a guy was planning a ride or whatever. He just can't actually meet up at this set time, so they mix it up. One thing about prison, you'll ask yourself, where did all the yesterdays go? Man, I used to look at beautiful days. Man, I'd be on the rec yard, and the rec is over with. It's time to go in. I'd be saying, man, I want to stay out here on this beautiful sunny day. The weather just right. You got to go inside. You have a lot of nostalgia. You reminisce about things, you know, but the world is keeping going forward. So the best a person can do is try to stay out of prison. At one time in a Texas prison, it was easy to get out. They didn't keep guys locked up a long time unless you was a mass murderer, or you killed a cop, or trial officials or the crime victim protested your parole, or you was going to be in there a long time. Other than that, all the other guys was being released. A guy had a 20-year sentence in Texas, he probably going to do maximum 3 years, and he was being released. That's why some guys went to work, and even when they had the inmate guards, they would go to work and do what they had to do because they knew they was going to get out. Under this system, none of that don't mean shit. They closing down prisons in Texas, closing them up. Some of the old prisons, they closing them up because that land is on prime real estate. The state going to sell the land to a developer. So they got plenty of bed space in Texas. Enough ranting and raving. Y'all keep your shanks ready in case we got a ride on these fools. Y'all like and subscribe. And I thank you for watching.